Welcome back to another episode of The Struggle. Sorry, we're trying to get things up and running here on the Instagram because for whatever reason, Instagram has not been cooperating with me lately. But yes, we are streaming live on Instagram. God dang, I got all this cat hair on my mic. Daggone studio cats. But yes, you are joining us for another episode of The Struggle. Today we are going to be covering Exodus chapter 22. So, first things first, it just popped up in my mind. Hold up, let me see if I can get another window up and running because I saw the craziest thing the other day. Actually, it was a couple weeks ago. Uh, there we go. And the reason why I'm going to be talking about this is because this is it's just kind of weird how, how things are coming about. As you guys know, I'm not a fan of the sweet and sour sniffles, the kung flu and all types of other stuff. Let me see if I can get this. See if I can share this with you guys. All right. So I'm going to play I think what is it? This video right here. I'm sorry for those of you that are on the Instagrams. I can't really show you because for whatever reason. So you have the reason why I'm sharing this on The Struggle is just to show you guys like some things you just shouldn't play around with. So you got this if you guys haven't heard about it, there's this comedian named Heather McDonald and she was making all these, I don't want to say blasphemous, but she made a joke talking about how Jesus favors her and all types of other stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it for those of you that are watching live on the YouTubes. Let's see. So she's saying right here. So for those of you that are listening to this on Instagram, and for those of you that are listening, on the podcast later on, so she's sitting here talking about how she's double vax, boosted, and she got the flu shot. So and she got the shingle shot. So she's going down the myriad of cocktails that she got. And she's talking about how she never got COVID. Now, I'm just gonna say, from a military standpoint, I don't. It doesn't look like she's locking her knees. And for those of my servicemen and women who've experienced what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. All right, so this is where everything starts going downhill. She's sitting there talking about how Jesus loves her the most because she's double vax, she's boosted, she's got a flu shot, and she just had her period, and she's traveled to places like Mexico. So, and then and then and then she passes out. And then as you can tell, she's taking deep breaths. So to me, what this looks like, and I'm not making fun of her, but to me, what it looks like is that she went hypoxic. Because she's like breathing, you can see her stomach contracting very, very hard. So the reason why I'm showing that is some things you just should not play around with. I'm not showing it to make fun of her. I'm just saying, there's just some things that, if you're out here gloating about how you're double vax boosted, all types of other stuff, and maybe you shouldn't bring the Messiah in on your joke because you might end up being the butt of the joke. So, yeah. So it's oh, so someone's saying that they can't hear my video. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Um, because I was actually working on that earlier. I was trying to because I've been noticing that people have been having a hard time hearing the audio when that's all right. That's all right. I'm just gonna we're just gonna power through it. But for those of you, yeah. So whatever reason, StreamYard, I can't. I've been noticing like videos don't really go through for whatever reason, unless like I download the video. Hold up. It's going to take too much time. But we're not talking about that today. I just wanted to bring that up because you got this woman on here talking about how she's quadruple vaxxed and all types of other stuff, and she's like how and she's like just saying, oh, Jesus loves her better and all types of other stuff. To me, you just made yourself look like a butthole. Oh, let me respond to this guy that just let me know that he cannot hear the audio. Thank you, kind sir. Oh. Sorry, yeah, I mistyped. Thank you. I said kind sir, but I meant kind sir. So I apologize. I'm human. I make mistakes. So yes, let's go ahead and get into this. We are covering chapter 22. Add this to the screen. And I am using the TLV version, the Messianic Jewish Family Bible Tree of Life version. But for those of you, if you use the King James version, NIV version, or whatever else other version, please, I don't care. I'm just saying it's better for you to read it than to not have it. It's better to have a version so that way you can study your version. Me, I don't like reading King James version, the thee, thou, and all this other stuff. It makes my head hurt because I'm not that smart. So, and I got a fifth grade reading level education. So that's just me. But let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so chapter 22, protection of property. And it's pretty much what this whole chapter is about. And I'm just going to give you guys a caveat. Women may get upset at this towards the end. All right. If a thief found breaking in is struck so that he dies, there is no blood guilt for him. Oh, before I proceed, so just for clarification, I will be using the Dennis Prager's Exodus, God, Slavery, and Freedom as my extra source, and then I also have I'm using Bible Hub, and I'm using the Strong's Lexicon to help me kind of break down some of these words, even though to me this version is pretty straightforward, which is why I use the TLV version. And I read, if a thief found breaking in is struck so that he dies, there is no blood guilt for him. But if the sun has risen, there is blood guilt, and he is to make full restitution. If he has nothing, then he must be sold for his theft. If the item is found in his hands alive, whether ox, donkey, sheep, he is also to pay double. If a man causes a field or vineyard to be eaten by letting his animals loose, and it feeds another man's field, then he is to make restitution for the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. If fire breaks out, spreads among thorns, so that stalks of grain, standing grains, or the fields themselves are consumed, then the one who lit the fire must make full restitution. If a man entrusts his neighbor with money, hold up, let me take this banner down. I'm sorry, build it as we fly. All right. Let me see. Where did I leave off at? All right. If a man trusts his neighbor with money or items for safekeeping and is stolen out of the man's house, when the thief is found, he must pay double. If the thief is not found, then the master of the house is to present himself to God to see whether he has laid his hand on his neighbor's goods for any transgression, whether ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or anything else lost. When someone says, "This is mine," the case of both parties is to be brought before God. The one whom God convicts is to pay double to his neighbor. So I'm just going to go over this first one. So, of course, we got to understand, like, these people are living in an agricultural society. So donkeys, oxen, sheep, goats, all that other stuff, especially donkeys and oxen, those are like beasts of burden. That's like having a tractor and you're working a farm and stuff like that. So these animals cost money and they're very valuable and they're needed for to cultivate their land and stuff like that. As you know, if you guys haven't seen pictures or whatever, they use donkeys, to transport large heavy items. They use oxen to plow the fields so that way they can, make the vineyards and stuff like that. So and of course they can have all these animals use their dung for manure so that way they can fertilize their crops and stuff like that. So if you're out here like so yeah, to us in the 21st century, it sounds crazy. Oh, like stealing someone's oxen or whatever. That's like being a horse thief back in the 1500s. So Dennis Prager writes here in his book, I highlighted this one part. And this is about killing somebody when it's night outside. This is verse 1. One who kills a nighttime invader is assumed to have acted in self-defense and is not charged with the murder. As regards all instances in which a person is good should has a good reason to fear an assailant might kill him. The Talmud teaches a basic principle of Jewish jurisprudence. If one comes to kill you, wake up early, i.e., anticipate him and kill him first. So, as a lot of people like to sit here and say, oh, well, the Ten Commandments say thou shalt not murder, or thou shalt not kill, or whatever else. Well, I don't like that version of thou shalt not kill because technically, you know, killing is such a broad word, but the real translation is thou shalt not murder. There's a difference between murdering someone and killing someone. You can kill someone in an accident. It doesn't mean you meant to do it. Like case in point, if you're in an auto collision and somebody has to die, I mean someone ends up dying. Case in point, it's wintertime here. We have cases of black ice and stuff like that. Let's just say you're driving down Highway 95, you hit a patch of black ice, and then your car strikes somebody else. Technically, you did kill them. Your car, as we're seeing here in chapter 22, is your property. Your property caused the life of someone else. Did you murder them? No. Now, if you're out here if you walk in on your girl and her sneaky link, and you're chasing the sneaky link down the street, and you're trying to run him over, or you're a female and you're trying to run your boyfriend over in your car and you hit them and they die, now you murdered them. You see what I'm saying? It's similar situations, but the context is different. So that's why I don't like using the phrase thou shalt not kill, because that is such a broad, like ironclad way of saying it. It's thou shalt not murder. You do not murder people. Now, you can act in self-defense. If someone breaks into your house, you have a right to defend yourself, as we see here in verse 1 through 2. You have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to protect your family. Now, if it is daytime, you can clearly see, the idea is darkness. You can't see this person coming in. You don't know what their intentions are, and you're not trying to make any qualms trying to figure it out. However, in the daytime, safe to say, you can see them, they can see you. Now, the idea is if they're just coming in just to steal something, then you got to handle it differently. You handle them properly, you try to subdue them, restrain them, and all types of other stuff, and then you let the law take over. But in the cover of darkness, your ass is mine. I try not to curse on the struggle episodes. As y'all know, I'm a cursing type of fool. So, moving on, verse 9. If a man entrusts his neighbor with a donkey, ox, sheep, or any animal to care for, and it dies, is hurt or taken away with no one seeing, then there must be an oath before Adonai between the two of them to determine whether or not he has laid his hand on his neighbor's good. The owner is to accept it with no restitution. But if indeed it was stolen from him, he is to make restitution to the owner. If it is torn in pieces, let him bring it as evidence. he is not required to pay for what has been torn to pieces. So that's sitting here saying like, of course, all right, you going on vacation, you you leave your let's say your car, because I've actually had this happen to me. So when I was getting out of the military, I left my car with some friends. I was trying to have it transported to my house, and they ended up wrecking my car. One, I didn't know that someone who I thought was my friend, had my car. So my car is pretty much being pimped out as a community car. It was my other car. I had two cars then. So, but I allowed one of my friends to use it. Someone else had gotten hold of the keys to the car, and then they end up wrecking the car. So technically, did I make that person make restitution to me? No, I should have. But the issue that I was facing was this guy was so knee deep in his own issues that I knew I wasn't going to get anything anyway. So I kind of just let the car go. So I just let it sit in the impound lot, and then they end up selling it. I didn't get anything for it, but I had to pay back the loan. Unfortunately, the dude never paid me back, but it is what it is. All's forgiven. That was so many years ago. But instances like that, I lend something to someone and it was taken. So does my friend need to pay me restitution? Well, the friend that I left responsible for it, if he wasn't aware of it, no. Biblically speaking, if he was not aware that someone had gotten a hold of the keys, no, because even though it was his responsibility, but the issue is the person who actually took the keys, they're the ones responsible. So, if a man borrows anything belonging to his neighbor and it is harmed or dies in the absence of the owner, he must make full restitution. But if the owner is present, he is not required to pay restitution. If it was rented, it is covered by the rental fee. Let me find out the Bible got what was that enterprise coverage on, like, it is covered in the rental fee. Jeez.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh
My
my
apologies.
goodness. I wasn't talking to you. Sorry, this daggone new Apple Watch. Thanks to the missus as a Valentine's Day gift. I love you, boo. Um, Moving on. If a man, all right, so this is where it, like I say, women will probably end up having an issue with this because they're talking about women as protection of property, but you'll see why. Let me see if I can. All right, so I'm gonna make this one a big one. So if a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and lies with her, he must pay a dowry for her to be his wife. But if her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he must weigh out silver equal to the dowry for virgins. He must not permit the. Oh yeah, so that right there is an important piece. If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged, that means if she's clearly, it says virgin, so obviously she ain't one for the streets. Typically, my understanding is some Bibles, when they use the word virgin, it can mean like a young lady, a maiden, but most definitely it means a virgin, a woman who has not lain or known in a biblical sense a man. She has not had sexual intercourse with a man. So that's like the shotgun wedding. That's like, even though shotgun weddings typically amount to pregnancy, but that's like if you're a man and you just cannot control yourself and you end up hooking up with this female who's a virgin, you lie with her, you must pay a dowry for her to be your wife. You got to, because now what you did was you just kind of ruined her chances of being someone's wife. She it's I mean, that is what it is. Like, a woman's virginity is her most prized possession and value. And especially back in these days where marriage was not only for love, but it was also like a business transaction, you know. Excuse me. I got a tickle in my throat. So, if a man seduces a virgin, who is not engaged, meaning she's not betrothed to anyone, and she doesn't have a suitor. She hasn't said, I want to marry him, and lies with her. He must pay a dowry for her to be his wife. But if her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he must weigh out silver equal to the dowry of a virgin. Now, the dowry is a marriage price, like you're paying for a wedding. So, I know, of course, places in Africa and the Middle East, they still do this, which I kind of wish. I honestly think that, and this is hindsight 2020, because I was, like I say, in my youth, in my past, like I was definitely out there in the streets, but most of the women that I was messing with were not virgins. So to me, I honestly think like this would fix a lot of our problems. If we start putting marriage as our top priority, if we start treating marriage with honor and respect, then would marriage would have more value. Marriage would, people wouldn't play around so much with this hookup culture, especially. Well, mm, actually, I'm going to retract that, because a lot of these women walking around here ain't virgins. A lot of these women out here are used up, goods. They're used cars with a couple miles on them, or a couple owners at best. They're like those cars that you got from Katrina. The ones that have been in floods and they just happen to fix them up, and they look nice on the outside, but you may have some internal issues later on. So Dennis Prager actually writes an essay about verse 15. Oh, and it is a long one. So he said, this is the only time the Torah deals with the legal context of consensual intercourse between two unmarried people. Because polygamy was legal, the man in this instance may be a married man. But since two people in this instance may both be unmarried, I am addressing the issue in that regard. This, in and of itself, may be a comment of the Torah's lack of preoccupation with the matter. And even this verse is not primarily concerned with premarital sex as such. It is primarily concerned with protecting the woman, specifically her ability to marry, by protecting the worth of her virginity, which was extremely important extremely important consideration throughout history, and remains so in traditional societies. For this reason, the Torah does not deal with a man seducing an unmarried woman who is not a virgin. The seduction of a married or betrothed woman would fall under the category of adultery. Regarding sexual matters, the Torah is preoccupied with desexualizing God, desexualizing religion, and desexualizing family life, creating nuclear family and protecting them from adultery and incest, channeling the male sex drive into marriage, sustaining the male-female distinction, assuming the family and the woman in those cases where the family takes her desires into an account, is in favor of the marriage. The man who seduced the virgin is obligated to marry her and to pay the bride price. A man therefore must be very careful before sleeping with a virgin, even when the act is consensual, because she and her family can insist he marry her. Though not preoccupied with the issue of sex between two unmarried people, which in Western society is often referred to as fornication, but for which there is no equivalent term in the Hebrew Bible. The Torah nevertheless considers sexual intercourse to be an act of great significance, whose only rightful place is within marriage. A man is therefore forbidden to seduce a woman if he has no intention of marrying her, and if he does seduce her without marriage intentions, he can be compelled to marry her, and she, or at least the family, can refuse. In that sense, this law is considered a version of a moral law in the Talmud, which I refer to as the storekeeper law. It forbids a person from going into a store inquiring about a price of an item if he has no intention of buying it. People are not allowed, the Talmud explains, to raise the hopes of the storekeeper for no good reason. In this case, which is with its far higher psychological and emotional states, we can infer that the storekeeper has a right to assume a customer asking about an item is seriously consider buying it. So, to in ancient Israel, a woman seduced by a man who is wooing her had the right to assume he wanted to marry her. Today, there is no legal consequence if a man seduces a virgin, assuming, of course, she is not a minor. However, at the very least, a decent man is sensitive to the emotional importance of the sex act to most women. After World War II, Western society underwent what is known as the sexual revolution. With the weakening of biblical values and the ease of obtaining both contraception and, since the 1970s, abortion, more unmarried people have had sexual relations with more partners than ever before in Western and perhaps world history. However, in addition to creating more fatherless children than ever before, this revolution has harmed both sexes, especially women. But men too have paid a price in at least two ways. One is fewer men seek to marry. Men benefit enormously from marriage. In the words of the Nobel Peace Prize economist George Akerlof, a man settles down when they get married. If they fail to get married, they fail to settle down. And in the words of the late University of Virginia sociologist Stephen Knock, marriage is one of the last rites of passage into manhood remaining in our society. In the other is many men are less motivated to succeed in life. One of the primary reasons men always worked hard was to earn the commitment of a woman. But if women are readily available without having to achieve much, fewer men will seek to achieve much. Women for their part were told they can enjoy emotionless and commitment-free sex as much as men could. But a host of academic studies and popular reports of promiscuous women refute this notion. Indeed, among young women, high rates of depression often related to casual sex. For example, a major study of American college-age women published the Journal of Sex Research, a publication of the United States National Institute of Health, concludes hookup behavior during college was positively correlated with experiencing clinical significant depression symptoms. Similarly, regarded teenagers in general, a recent longitudinal study published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology suggests that teenagers who engage in casual sex are more likely to suffer from depression than their peers who don't engage in casual sex. Given that teens who practice celibacy were rated lowest in clinical depression and depressive symptoms on the charts, promiscuity may be symptomatic of depression. One consequence of so many young women believing this message that they can and should enjoy sex with as many men as men can with women was summarized in this comment by a young woman cited in the American magazine Vanity Fair. It's rare for a woman of our generation to meet a man who treats her like a priority instead of an option. Finally, it needs to be stressed the Torah's language here makes it unambiguously clear it is referring only to consensual sex, not anything approaching forced sex, i.e., rape. For example, in Genesis, when Shechem sleeps with Jacob's daughter Dinah, the Torah uses entirely different language. He lay with her by force. Genesis 34, verse 2. See also 2 Samuel 13:14 makes it clear this was an act of coercion. Here, the verb is yafetah, correctly translates as seduced. As regards rape, two eminent Bible scholars, Richard Elliott Friedman and Shauna Delansky summarize the Torah's view thus: what should not be in doubt is the biblical view of rape. It is horrid. It is decried in the Bible stories. It is not tolerated in the biblical law. And then he finishes off here, verse 16. If the father refuses to give her to him, Dennis writes, if the woman's family does not support the marriage, then the man must still pay the bride price as punishment, lest the Torah being misinterpreted by a man thinking he could acquire a woman as a wife simply by seducing her to sleep with him. The Torah makes it clear that whether or not the woman's family allows her to marry the man, he still has to pay the very same price to her family he would have paid to marry her. So, yeah, I understand that was a mouthful, but here's why. Like, I'm going to hone in on this, and I'm going to move on, but I'm gonna circle back because we are like running short on time. All right. Verse 17, you must not permit a sorceress to live. Anyone who lies with the animal must surely be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to the gods, except for Adonai alone, is to be put under a ban of destruction. You must not exploit or oppress an outsider, for you were outsiders in the land of Egypt. You must not mistreat any widows or orphans. If you mistreat them in any way, and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry. My wrath will burn hot. I will kill you with the sword. So your wives will become widows and your children will become orphans. And man, God got really pissed off at that in that verse. If you lend money to any of my people, to the poor among you, you are not to act like a debt collector with them. Oh my God, I know so many people like this. You are not to charge him interest. If you ever take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, you are to return it to him before the sun goes down. For the sun goes down on my side of town. Sorry, too much TikTok. For that, for that is his only covering, his cloak for his skin. What will he sleep in? When he cries out to me, I will hear because I am gracious. Do not despise God or curse a ruler of your people. Do not hold back the fullness of your crop or your vintage. You are to present your firstborn of your sons to me. Do the same with your cattle and with your sheep. For 7 days it is to be with its mother, and on the 8th day you are to give it to me. You are to be a holy people to me. You must not eat any flesh torn by beasts in the field. You may throw it. You may throw it out to the dogs. If a man's ox hurts another ox so that it dies, they are to sell the live ox and divide the price. They are also to divide the dead one. Or if it becomes known that the ox was given to violence in times past, and its owner has not kept it pent up, he must surely pay ox for an ox, and the dead animal will be his own. If a man steals an ox or sheep and kills it or sells it, he is to pay 5 oxen for 1 ox and 4 sheep for 1 sheep. And that is it for today's episode. So, let me see. So, sorcery. Dennis kind of goes into sorcery. He said the verse. This verse and the 2 that follows contains prohibitions, 3 polytheistic practices the Torah regards as so destructive and moral civilization they merit death penalties. This verse is translated literally means you shall not keep a sorceress alive. The first is sorcery or magic. Belief in or the practice of magic were universal in the ancient world. Although many societies had laws forbidding the use of magic for malevolent purposes, only the Torah outlaws magic altogether. Magic was the antithesis of the Torah's worldview. Whereas magic suggests mysterious supernatural forces control the universe, the select individuals are capable of acquiring those abilities to become godlike. The Torah maintains God alone has dominion over the world. And it says here, whoever lies with the beast shall be put to death. Yeah. The second prohibition is bestiality. Whoever lies sexually with an animal has reduced him or herself to the level of an animal and thereby blurs the distinction between human and animals, just as sorcery blurs the distinction between human and God. As we see later, the Torah blurring the monotheism in distinctions, man and animal, God and man, good and evil, holy and profane, man and woman, life and death, undermines the order of the universe designed by God. Of all the Near East legal systems, only the Hittite code contained prohibits the widespread practice of bestiality. But while this code punished with death and intercourse with pigs, dogs, sheep, it allows human intercourse with mules and horses. Wow. Presumably, the Torah wrote a beast in this verse so to emphasize there is no such thing as an acceptable or unacceptable bestiality. It is forbidden to sleep with any animal. And you know what? I'm gonna go out on a ledge here. Because also when it talks about beasts, when you read the Bible, a lot of things will have, while it may say one thing on the surface, it's also talking about something else underneath it as you keep reading. Because even though I'm jumping a little forward here, when we're talking about Daniel, and Daniel is also talking about the beast. Beasts often refer to kingdoms and stuff like that. There was a video. Let me see. It's a good video. You guys can see it on YouTube. Let me see. I think it's called American Babylon or something like that. Yeah. It's called From Babylon to America. It's by School of Prophets. It's a really good video. He kind of goes over the visions of Daniel, and they're referring to beast. And what he broke down was that beast also means like a kingdom. And this verse can also mean, let me see. Yeah, anyone who well, yeah, so in my version it says anyone who lies with an animal must surely be put to death. But what I also think in other versions, I know that they use the word beast. So that could also mean anyone who has a almost intercourse, like if you are of God's people and you have almost an intercourse with another way of life, as we're talking about sorcery. And then just following under bestiality, we have anyone who sacrifices to the gods except for Adonai. And that's what I'm thinking about is also an additional meaning. Those, if anyone's having intercourse, you know, if they're getting seduced by, or having this sexual fantasy or a lust for another type of kingdom that is just not biblical in any way, shape, or form, I think that can also be a way of looking at it. But I'm just gonna go off of my version here. It says who, because I'm not disregarding sex with animals. And Dennis talks about the fact that you had some societies that talks about having sex with animals. Yeah, you'll be put to death for having sex with a dog or a pig or something like that, but horses and goats were okay. I don't think having sex with animals is okay in any way, shape, or form. You got all these freaks out here that are having sex with animals. To me, it's just disgusting. Like, I don't understand like how you could stoop so low to find an animal, either one, sexually enticing, and two, like, why would you even do that? Like, I remember in high school there was this thing called this video, Mr. Hands, and it was a guy out there having anal sex. Like he's letting a horse penetrate him. He's allowing a horse to penetrate him, and then he ends up dying. And it's like, it's disgusting. It's disgusting to think that people are out here actually having sex with animals, and the fact that they actually and that it's being broadcasted, and it's not just ones and twos. Like there are people out here that are just depraved, and it's ugh, like it's disgusting. And I heard over in Israel they're having an issue right now with with some of their labor laws, because a lot of the Orthodox Jewish communities who have businesses, they are forbidding, or they're not allowing Christians or Palestinians. They're not allowing people of different backgrounds, or to work for them, because of the fact that just bestiality is rampant. I mean, I've heard stories of guys who went overseas, and you'll hear stories of boys who sheep herders who will go out in and have sex with sheep. Like that is just disgusting. Like this, I can't wrap my mind around it. Like I don't like. Oh, like something like this just. But in this depraved age where what we have now with this sexual liberation, as we because I'm about to make an anti-feminist argument. Because as we're sitting here seeing when we're talking about men seducing women, and Dennis Prager's talking about how there was a backlash with this sexual liberation, after World War II and stuff. You have these women out here going out thinking that there's no price to pay for having indiscriminate sex with all these men. Now, what you have after the sexual liberation of women, now you have sexual liberation for homosexuality. You have now not only that, but and people has said, oh, well, especially after Obama allowed gay marriage to be legal. And this is, if you're gay and you decide to be married, hey, that in the laws of America, you're married. In biblical law, you're not married. But I'm not really going to touch on that. But once the Obama administration authorized, gay marriage, which to me, I don't think the federal government should have been allowed in that at all. If we don't have any laws on it, who is anyone to say this probably be like a kind of pro-gay marriage in a secular sense, because I'm not putting the Bible in this, because if America doesn't have laws for it, why it should not be a discussion. If there's no constitutional law that says you can't marry someone of the same sex, then it should not be an issue. Now culturally, yes, culturally it is a big issue, as we're seeing. But I'm just saying from a federal to local, like, yeah, biblically speaking, I'm not with it. But hey, but once the Obama administration gave the hominis dominus to gay marriage, what we saw in a couple years, and if those of you who still have long-term memory, what we saw and what we see now is that you have women out here, or people out here, because you got marrying sex toys, like those sex robots, or those flesh-like Asian sex dolls. You got people out here marrying themselves. You got people out here marrying animals. It's disgusting. So once you let one floodgate open, it's only a matter of time before the pressure opens up to where it just pushes through all of them. So now what you have in this, first it was just lesbian and gay. Then, all the LGBT, they just kept adding letters. And now the LGBT movement is it's like you can't even be regular gay anymore. Being regular gay is so passe. It's looked at as just your normal now. It's like now you got to be a super freak. You got to be a gender non-binary mythical creature almost. Like you got it, like this is what happens when you just let standards go. You know, when you don't have concrete principles, as we're sitting here saying, a man who seduces a woman who is not engaged, lies with her, we're not talking about rape, must pay a dowry. So that right there was like, yo, you cannot just be out here smashing and dashing without paying a price. But also it also meant that a woman's highest value was her virginity. So women, if you're out here being licentious with your lady parts, then like you can't demand a bride price. That is like, even in this modern dating scene. For those of you who have not listened to the previous two episodes I did, I'm gonna continue it next week. You know, you have women out here that have racked up bodies like a store charge card. They just like they out here just like putting their coochie on credit. They just buying whatever they can buy. They getting bags, shoes, perfume, wigs, nails, all types of other stuff. And then once they're ready to settle down, it's like no. And then they want someone to pay a full bride price for them. I'm sorry, if you're just out here like that and you're using your coochie as credit, you cannot demand a bride price. And to me, and some women will lie. I mean, like if I have a daughter and I know she out here in the streets, oh, trust me, I'm not I'm going to do what I can, the best that I can. You know, even though my wife is watching this right now, hey babe. Like, to me, I think this is a good law. I want to keep my daughter's dignity and her virginity as long as I can, because as we're sitting here reading, and you can go on any study, the more sex women have, the more depression that they're having, the more psychological issues that they're having. Oh, the missus, she's asking, what is a bride price? A bride price is like a marriage price. It means a bride price is what you would pay to like host a wedding. Let me look it up right here. Bride price definition. But as we see here, let me see. Uh, let's go back. I'm gonna use Strong's lexicon. All right, let's see. So in Strong's lexicon, it means a pledge in marriage. It means betrothed, engaged. Let's go down. Must pay a full dowry to obtain or acquire the paying purchase price, to give a dowry or to obtain in exchange. So let's see. Let's do this. Biblical, a biblical bride price. So in that, I know you guys have heard over in like Africa, they be paying with goats and all types of other stuff. So let's see. Legit dot. Let me share this for those of you that are on the YouTubes. Mm. All right, for those of you on the YouTubes, this is legit.ng. A bride price is not a condition for marriage, but only a penalty. No, it is. You know what? Nah, I'm not doing that. That is not what it says. You know, that's what I get for just clicking on anything. So it says here, Deuteronomy 22:28 through 9. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, okay, but as we're talking about in Exodus 22, it's not talking about rape. It's only talking about seduce. He shall pay the father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he has violated her. That does not mean rape, but okay. So let's look up 50 shekels to today's money. 50 shekels to US dollars. Let's see. Well, that seems very depressingly low. It says right here, 50 shekels equals $15. I highly doubt that, because silver is very shekels of silver. Let me get descriptive, because the Bible was very descriptive. It said in silver. Uh, let's see. Mm, so in this one, this website, and I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but the current currency is $315. Let's see. A shekel of silver. Because I know silver's price is actually a shekel weight in the New Testament. Matter of fact, crap, I don't have my Bible on me. Do not have. I should have had my Bibles on standby because I know that they give weights and stuff. Let me see. What good is having all these Bibles if the one you need is not here? Okay. Nope, not in that one. All right. Let's see, Book of Maccabees. I think Book of Maccabees has it. Nope. All right. Have all these daggone Bibles. See, as you guys can tell, that I actually does this. I actually research. All right. Let's see. Shekels. I want shekels. All right. All right. So a shekel is 11 grams. So 11 grams of silver. All right. Cost of 11 grams. So 11 grams of silver is so that's equal to $8. So he says, how much is it? Let me equal parts. The father must must weigh out silver equal to the dowry price. You know what? Yeah, so if they're saying it's 50, so let's do this. So 50, so that's about 55 grams. Yeah, that still doesn't look too good. Say it's like, wow, bride price is very low. Yeah, but I know silver. Let me see, cost of silver. Let me do that because I know cost of silver skyrocketed. Got my wife out here. So it is whatever the father. No, it's not. No, it was a specific price. Cost of silver. So yeah, cost per ounce is about $24 per ounce. So I gotta do more research on shekels, but pretty much like the bride price, it was gonna cost you some money. From the research that let me do this. Biblical bride price. Let me see. Sorry. I'm not using that website ever again. Open Bible. Let me see. Getting married, betrothed, the bride price. Let me see. Yeah, because they're not really clear on too many. Let me see. Because I know when it actually cost Jacob or cost Abraham a lot of money to marry it caused Abraham a lot of money to marry Isaac and Rebecca because he was like dropping gold and jewelry and animals and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not really giving me a lot. Bride price, story. Let's see, I'm using bride. Well, 50 shekels of silver, though the payment may be deferred based on the times. So it could, let's just say, I think, I wish I had my Bible up here because I know it has the weights in it. Let's do 55 shekels in the Bible. God dang, I'm doing all this. I cannot type today. Oh, well, those were okay. So the reason why it was all crazy sounding was it's the new shekels. So 55 shekels in the new Israeli shekel is like $17. Let me see. All right. Okay. Yeah, so it says here he offers consistent with a silver platter weighing 3 1/4 of a pound, silver weigh on 1 3/4 pound. Okay, this is all types of craziness. I don't understand. Okay, I wish I had my other Bible, and I don't feel like getting up to go get it. But yeah, so pretty much you got to pay a bride price. The bride price was the price of a wedding by Strong's Dictionary's version. Let me see. You had to pay a full dowry to obtain or acquire a purchase price, give a dowry to obtain or exchange. To obtain or acquire the purchase price gives a dowry to obtain or exchange. A woman, a wife, yeah. So pretty much you got to pay for like a wedding, pretty much. You got to show the father. Traditionally, if I'm referring it back to Genesis. Yeah, so it says here sorry, I didn't go back far enough. So in verse 22, and that's in the I'm on Strong's lexicon, the bridal price, a purchase price for a wife, wedding money. So that's pretty much what it is. So what I'm assuming it says is you got to be able to pay for a wedding. But I apologize for that. I kind of got carried away with trying to figure out like shekels and all this other stuff. One of these days, I'll probably do that. I'll probably figure all that out for you guys and just do an episode on that. But so as I was saying, because I'm running out of time. So as I was saying, when we let one standard go, i.e., in this case, we let the standard of virginity and marriage go between a man and a woman, because obviously the Bible here in verse 15 in the TLV version, because it's a different chapter or it's a different verse in other Bibles. We're not talking about rape. We're talking about seduction. We're talking about a man seducing a woman just to sleep with her, and that's it. There, like Dennis said, there's no price to pay today. Yeah, you may be called a F boy or an a-hole or whatever else, but there's no monetary loss, really. I mean, outside of whining and dining and finessing, but there's no monetary loss. And then 9 times out of 10, most of these women are getting played, and they're not even. A lot of these women either don't have fathers involved, they don't have a father in their life, or they don't have a father that is active in their life, I should say. That means the father is around, but he's not invested in her sexual life, and it's just when we let one standard go, it's a domino effect, because then you get into do not permit a sorceress to live. They're obviously talking about a woman. Anyone who lies, and they said anyone, so that means man and woman. Anyone who lies, and even though sometimes the Bible refers to he, but he also is plural. He is a very pluralistic form of saying man and woman, because you can refer to a woman in old literature as he. When you're referring to a man or mankind, that you're still including women. But anyone who lies with the animal must be surely be put to death. Anyone who sacrifices to other gods, except for Adonai alone, should be put under the ban of destruction. This, like, when we're sitting here talking about all this sexual liberation and stuff like that, there is a cost. And and I'm just gonna speak for me, because I asked my wife's father for his blessing to marry her. And thank God he did because trust me, I understand how difficult it can be when you don't have the blessing of the parents. It makes things very, very difficult. It makes things very hard to deal with. So I'm just, I'm probably going to pick this up on another episode. I'll probably pick it up next week because we're out of time. But yeah, yeah, yeah. This episode was a very eye opening one, especially even though I've read it before. It's as I'm reading and studying it in depth, and I read what Dennis was saying. A lot of the issues that we have today, in as far as relationships and home life, stems from the fact that we don't have these standards, and now we're just letting people do whatever they want and think that it's it is what it is. It's there's no real cost to anything, but as we're seeing in the data and research that there is a cost. We got women who are suffering from depression, suffering from just suffering all in general. We have men who don't trust women because men are being very laissez-faire with their ping pong sticks, so but I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I hope you guys really enjoy this. I'll pick up this talking point, this men seducing women and virgins and getting engaged. I'll pick that up on Wednesday. I'm gonna make it. It's not gonna be a struggle episode, but it will be a dating episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys will come back. Next Monday we are going to be doing another movie. I just got to figure out what movie we're doing. Even though the wife and I, we just went to go see another movie. I'm not. It hasn't been 2 weeks yet. But until then, I will see you guys next time. If you guys want to help us out, please help our friends first. Visit my brother Zoe over at Bronze Serpent Media. Visit all of our friends that you see that are affiliated with us. And even though I don't like selling stuff on the struggle days, but visit our Teespring store. And those are the studio months telling me to get off. So I will see you guys later. Peace out.